Hello and welcome to an episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Friday, November 18th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Friday, November 18th here today. It is a football Friday here in November. A big weekend for the New York Jets as they get ready to face up against the New England Patriots in Foxborough. And as for the Giants, it's a big weekend for them as they get ready to play the Lions at home, which on paper it could be a trap game, and they try to get to their 8th win of the year and will head into Dallas on Thanksgiving on a high note after beating the Texans last week, coming out of the bye week after previously losing to the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. So the Giants will look to continue to build. Jets will look for a monumental franchise win. A lot to get to today, coming off an exciting night last night in the world of sports. If you're a Brooklyn Net fan today, you're happy, you're excited. It was a great win last night to beat a Trailblazers team that has been one of the better teams in the league to start out throughout the first 15, 16 games here. Get the win. Royce O'Neal with the game-winning shot. I mean, just phenomenal. It was close. It was tight. It was one of just an all-around, just really good, gutsy effort from this Net team. You can make the argument it was kind of one of their best, maybe I'm not saying overall performances, but in terms of just, great gutsy, just coming together as a team, battling, competing against a Trailblazers team that's come out really hot right out of the gate. So a lot of positives to take from last night. Kentucky also got the job done. Rangers take another tough loss. It's their defense. I mean, it's just, if you lose in overtime, that was tough to see. You couldn't get much, kind of goal scoring going. It's just, the Rangers are struggling right now, and they're 8-6-4. They're still in a playoff spot, and they're in the 4th spot right now. But they gotta find a way to get going here. They gotta start to get going. They're off to a very slow, sluggish start. I understand they're 2 games above the NHL 500 mark, but it's still kind of they're still kind of just they're kind of like. They're kind of just sleepwalking right now. It's almost like they're still focused on last year. It's like last year you got to put it in the rearview mirror and you got to get going here. Like you got to start playing consistently good hockey, which we haven't seen so far this year. So an interesting emotions last night. Big Nets win. Kentucky dominates. You wanted to see that bounce back, puts up 100-plus points against lousy South Carolina State, who nobody even knows really. They fall to 0-4. Now Sunday night, big game against Gonzaga, and a massive game because Gonzaga loses to Texas. If you lose that game, that is really, really tough because now that's losses to unranked Michigan State, who's good, but they're still unranked, and you lose to a Gonzaga team that lost already. Now, if you beat Gonzaga, you get that big win, and it's like, man, oh man, you're like, all right, now we could play with them. Because if you lose Gonzaga, everybody's going to be like, oh, well, you're beating all these bad teams. You're not beating the big dog. You got to find a way to beat Gonzaga Sunday night. We'll see how it all plays out. So it is a Football Friday podcast. You know the drill. We'll get to the game picks, get to fantasy football. I'll try to get through the game picks just due to, timing here. Try to keep it a little, try to keep it as short as I can. I know sometimes game picks sometimes take a little longer, so I'll try to keep it short and sweet and get right into it. So this is the Bubbs on Sports podcast, and let's get right into it. Let's get into it here. So it is a Football Friday podcast. We get ready for Week 11 of the NFL season. Can't believe I'm saying that. I mean, I really can't. Week 11 already. Feels like just yesterday we were talking about Jets, Ravens, and Bills. They'll be playing in Detroit. We'll get to them in a second. But Giants, Titans, and we were talking about Jets, Ravens, and talking about Joe Flacco and how the Jets can beat the Ravens at home. It feels like just yesterday we were talking about that. And in fact, it is 10 weeks later as we hit Week 11 here. Last night the week got off to a pretty good start. I mean, the Titans played well. Packers struggle coming off a big win against Dallas. Last night, I did predict the Packers to win. They took the loss. Titans get the win 27-17, so I'm now 0-1 to start the week. With last night's pick being wrong, I am now 8-3 overall on the year with my Thursday night game pick. So I was 8-1 going into last week. I picked last week incorrect. And then again, this week I picked incorrect. So that is now 2 straight weeks in a row that I picked incorrect. I picked Atlanta over Carolina last week. and I picked Green Bay over Tennessee last night. So that is now back-to-back weeks. I was having a lot of success on Thursday night. I was 8-1. Now I'm 8-3. Still a solid record through 11 weeks. But I do start off the week for the second consecutive week in a row going into Sunday 0-1. My overall record now is 30 games above 500, now 90-60. So I'm going to need a 10 wins throughout Sunday and Monday. I'm going to need 10 wins to try and get to the I'm going to need to go 8-2. Or I'm going to need to go 10-2 or 10 no, I'm going to need to go 10-1, right? Because there's 14 games on this weekend. So I'm going to need to go 10-1 because that'd be 10-2. That'd be 10-1 would be 12. I'm going to need I don't even know. I'm going to have to do good. I'm going to have to do really, really good to figure out to try and get to 100 by week 11. So with that being said, let's get into the game picks here. Enough with the record. We'll get into that, obviously, throughout the course of the season. Let's get into the game picks. So we're going to start things off here with Falcons-Bears. Falcons come into this game 4-6. Bears coming into this game 3-7. Falcons a 3-point favorite. Over/under set at 49.5. 1 Eastern on Fox. You could probably label this game. I mean, the Bears obviously they're out of it. I mean, they're 3-7. They're pretty entertaining to watch. I'll tell you that. And it's going to be an interesting matchup next week as the Jets will face the Bears next week. Although that's not on the radar screen. We got to focus on Foxborough and the New England Patriots. But I guess if you want to call this game a must-win for the Falcons, it is because this is a massive game for the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, if you want any chance of staying within the division conversation, you get the win. You'd be 5-6. You know, the Buccaneers, who are leading the division, are 5-5 right now. They have a day off, or they have a bye week coming off of the game in Germany, obviously. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how the Falcons come out after losing to Carolina on Thursday night. This is a must-win for them, though, because if they want any chance of keeping the division relatively close, they can't fall to 4-7, especially with the Buccaneers playing a little bit better over the past 2 weeks. I told you this. The Bears are fun to watch. They are. They've been fun to watch really over the past 4 weeks, and you got to give credit to the Bears coaching staff because the first couple weeks of the season, it was embarrassing. Their offense wasn't going anywhere. I remember the Thursday night game with the Commanders and the Bears. There was no offense whatsoever. It was embarrassing, and we were all kind of thinking to ourselves, geez, Justin Fields is in a terrible situation, no talent around him. Bears make an adjustment. Justin Fields is playing within the offense, and he's exciting. He runs the ball a ton. He's got incredible speed. They're using his athleticism. They're using his strengths. I mean, earlier in the year, they were trying to make him a pocket passer too much. They're rolling him out of the pocket, and you see what's happening. Now, they did lose last week. They lost 31-30. It was a shootout. They lost, but they're competitive. I'm going to take the Bears in this game on the road. I like the Bears here. Bears are a very interesting team that down the stretch of the season could make it interesting, against some of the better teams that might be fighting for playoff spots. They're a sneaky good team. I like the Bears. In Atlanta last week, their offense was brutal. Their defense stinks. I think the Bears, Justin Fields, have a big day on the road and continue this stretch of kind of entertaining football, which has been surprising, but it's been fun. I'm going to take the Bears here. 31-17. Bears win big. Falcons suffer another blow against a below 500 team. I'm going to take the Bears +3. I'll take the under on the over-under 49.5. Give me Chicago in Atlanta, and give me Justin Fields get his 4th win of the year. Game number 2, it was going to be in Buffalo, 6 feet of snow. The two running backs wouldn't have been able to be seen as Devin Singletary and Nick Chubb are both below 6 feet. This game has been moved to Detroit, moved to Ford Field, which we have seen happen a couple times. Bills are 6-3, Browns are 3-6. Bills 7.5-point favorites. The over/under set at 49.5. 1 Eastern on CBS. We saw the Jets-Bills back in 2014, I think it was, get moved to Ford Field. And then even earlier, this was not including the Bills, when the Vikings Dome in Minnesota collapsed. They had to move that game against the Giants. It was a Monday night game, I believe. It was against the Giants, and they had to move that to Ford Field. So anytime snow hits an area, when in doubt, go to Detroit, go to Ford Field. And sure enough, Detroit is in, East Rutherford this weekend as they'll face up against the Giants at MetLife. I'm going to take the Bills here. I think they're frustrated. I think they're going to be coming to this game. I think they're going to be motivated. It is going to be interesting, though, to see how teams react kind of to this odd change where you were supposed to have a home game. Now it's moved to Buffalo, or now it's moved to Detroit. There's going to be real no home field advantage. It's going to be interesting to see the energy in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a slow, low-scoring game because it's just routine's been messed up this week. No real home field advantage. It's in a dome. It's in Detroit. It's just going to be odd. So I think this is actually going to be a lower scoring game because I just don't think there's going to be much action. There isn't going to be much energy. But I'm going to take the Bills. I think they're going to be frustrated. They lost to the Jets and they lost to the Vikings. And they blew last week's game against Minnesota. They're getting up on territory now where they're not so safe in the AFC. If they lose this game and fall to 6-4, things really get interesting with them in the playoff picture, especially if the Jets win this week and gain another game on them because they already beat them. So this is, you could almost, not a must win, but it's a big game for the Bills. They're going to be frustrated. I'm going to take Buffalo. Again, I think it's going to be low scoring because I just think there's not going to be much rhythm. I'm going to take the Bills 23-13. Bills get the win. Again, lower scoring game. I don't expect it to be 35-31 or what we saw last week against the Vikings. I think it's lower scoring. Bills get the win. Under on the over-under 49.5. Bills win and cover the 7.5 points. They come out motivated, frustrated. Bills get the win. Next up here, we got the Texans and the Commanders. Commanders 5-5. Texans 7-1. Over-under set at 41. I'm taking the Commanders. They played really well last week against Philly. I'm taking the Commanders. Texans are embarrassing. Give me Washington. 27-13. Washington will get the win. I'll take the under on the over-under 43. Give me Washington up big time. I know that some people think this could be a hangover game. I don't buy it. They're well coached. Taylor Heineke's been playing great. Washington, Texans they stink. The Texans are awful. They're terrible. Their offense stinks. They're just not good. Give me Washington big time. Next up here, we got the Eagles and the Colts. Eagles 8-1, Colts 5-1, 1-0 under Jeff Saturday showing up on a Sunday. Eagles are 6.5-point favorites. Over-under set at 45.5. This game goes on 1 Eastern on CBS. Eagles coming off their first loss of the season. It's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back. Coming off of their first loss in division, a game that, a couple dumb mistakes they probably could have won. Washington played well, but there was, especially late, some penalties and some mistakes by the, Eagles. Late hit, on Heineke. We could have been interesting. They're going to come out. It's going to be interesting. We're going to learn a lot about this Eagles team. This is the first time they've lost. How do they respond? And they're playing a Colts team that played motivated last week. Jonathan Taylor played really well. Say whatever you want about Jeff Saturday. You got to remove the whole Jeff Saturday thing from it. The Colts beat the Raiders last week. That's it. That's the bottom line. And they did it running the ball with Jonathan Taylor. And there's so many people out there that are like, oh, they only won because they ran the ball with Jonathan Taylor. Well, that's the Colts offense. Jonathan Taylor hasn't been able to get going this year. That's why they've been so bad. They rely on him. He played great last week. They win. As Jonathan Taylor goes, the Colts goes. If Jonathan Taylor plays well, Colts are most likely going to win. So people just remove Jeff Saturday from the conversation. It's all about stopping the run if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. Everybody says, oh, it's Jeff Saturday, got lucky. They only ran it with Taylor. Well, that's their offense. It's Jonathan Taylor. And look at Jonathan Taylor's numbers this year. They've been extremely disappointing. He goes out last week, plays great, they win. That's their offense. So this is an interesting game because it's Eagles coming off their first loss. Is Jeff Saturday and this Colts team legit? Do we see another game out of Jonathan Taylor like that? I'm going to take the Eagles, and similar to the Bills, I think they're going to come out frustrated because last week that was a winnable game and they gave it away. I think they're going to be frustrated. They're going to go on the road. They're going to get the win. Give me the Eagles. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I'm going to take the Eagles. I think they cover, but I don't think this is going to be a 31-10 blowout. I'm going to take the Eagles 27-17. I'll take the Eagles 27-17. They'll cover 6.5. I'll take the under on the over-under 45.5, and I think the Eagles win and cover the 6.5. Win by 10. Next up, we got the Ravens and the Panthers. Next up, we got the Ravens and the Panthers. We'll get to the Giants-Lions in a little bit. Ravens 6-3, Panthers 3-7. Ravens 13-point favorites. Over/under set at 41.5. 1 Eastern on Fox. I'm going to take the Ravens. Look, the Panthers have been competitive. I'm going to take the Ravens here. They're at home. It's Lamar Jackson. They're a good team. Panthers are the Panthers. I will tell you this, though. I don't think the Ravens cover. This is a massive spread. 13 points is a big spread. And I'll tell you this. The Panthers have been competitive since they've fired Matt Rule. They have. And as much as we could bully them, again, I did just say the Panthers are the Panthers, but they are. They're not going to beat the Ravens. They're not going to go on the road and beat Baltimore. I could be wrong. I said Tua was going to stink this year. He's been phenomenal. So I could be wrong. Who knows? But right now, I'm going to take the Ravens. However, I think it's going to be relatively close. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think the Ravens are going to win by I'm going to take them by 10 here. I'll take the Ravens 30. I'll take them 27. I'll take them 27. 27-17. I'll take the same score as last game. I don't think they cover. I think the Panthers keep it, interesting early. They got those 4 extra days. This is a big opportunity for Carolina. If they can go on the road and beat Baltimore, their interim, it's going to be interesting, though, because you have 2 well-rested teams. You have a team coming off a Thursday night game, and you have a Ravens team coming off of a bye. So I'll tell you this. I think it's going to be a kind of a fast start to this game because you're going to have 2 well-rested teams. But again, I think just more talent, and let's be honest here, Ravens are the better team. I think Panthers keep it close early. Ravens break away late. Give me Baltimore 27-17. I'll take the over on the over-under 41.5. Ravens win, but do not cover, but they do get the win. All right, final 1 o'clock game here. We got the Saints and the Rams. Rams 3-6, Saints 3-4. Saints 3-point favorites, over-under set at 38.5. I'm shocked the Saints are a favorite in this game. I really am. I know the Rams have been bad, but the Saints are coming off an embarrassing performance against Pittsburgh, which was a winnable game. Andy Dalton, their offense has been terrible. They've been missing Michael Thomas. He's always hurt. This is just the battle of I don't want to say 2 disappointing teams because the Saints, I don't think we went into the year with incredibly high expectations. Rams, we went into the season and said they could, they could be a threat again. Rams have been terrible. The one thing I'll tell you this is I do think the Rams win this game. It looks like Stafford will be back. It looks like he'll clear concussion protocol and be back, so it won't be John Wolford. I'm going to take the Rams here. This is just the battle of 2 teams combined record of 6-13. It's desperate times for both teams. You wonder what the Saints do in the offseason. Do they completely tear it up? What's Michael Thomas's future? You've heard some rumors around Kamara. What is his future? Do they blow it all up and restart? Do they try to continue to add on? Do they feel like it's just a quarterback spot? Life after Drew Brees. It's been rough so far in New Orleans, and we'll see how it all plays out. But I'm going to take the Rams here. They get Stafford back. He's better than John Wolford. He hasn't been good this year, but he's better than John Wolford. That's the bottom line. And the Saints have just been embarrassing. So I'm going to take the Rams on the road. I know Cooper Kupp's hurt. This is a tough game to pick. Like, this is just, I don't even know if I don't bet, obviously. I'm not old enough. But I don't even know if I could bet. I probably wouldn't even put money on this game because it's just so, it's Andy Dalton. It's a Saints team that doesn't score. And it's a Rams team without their main threat in Cooper Kupp. It's like, but they do get, Stafford back. So I'll take the Rams. I don't know. This is just one of these games where it's just like, they'll put this game, in Vegas. They'll put this game on the top left-hand corner where nobody could see it. So I'm going to take the Rams. I'll take them 17-13. Low-scoring game. 2 bad teams. Can't believe I'm saying that about the defending Super Bowl champions, but that's where we're at. I'll take the Rams 17-13, under on the over-under 30.5, and I have them covering the 3. Or Rams plus 3, rather. All right, so now we go to the 4 o'clock games. We got 3 of these, and then we'll head to Sunday night. Broncos-Raiders. This is another game. Broncos 3-6, Raiders 2-7. Broncos 3-point favorites. The over-under set at 41. 4:05 p.m. Eastern on Fox. I saw today Broncos throwing it back old school to the old school uniforms. They got the end zones all painted. So maybe Russell Wilson, shows a couple flashes of John Elway. I don't know. We'll see. These are 2 bad games. I mean, these are just 2 really bad games. Saints-Rams and Broncos-Raiders. For the Raiders, it seems like Josh McDaniels' job is alive and well. We heard a report the other day that they don't have enough money to get rid of him, give him all of his money, and then pay somebody else. So the Raiders are in a really bad situation, I guess, with the money situation and how much they gave McDaniels. Broncos just stink. They can't score. They don't do it. I mean, they've been terrible. This is a battle of 2 bad coaches. To be fair, I think I'll tell you this. I think there's more blame to be thrown on Russell Wilson than there is on Derek Carr. I think like the Raiders, it's Josh McDaniels. And the reason is because last year they got to the playoffs under Rick Bisaccia, who was the interim after John Gruden and the whole all the situation around him with the allegations and stuff and him getting fired. They played well, and they got more talented this year, and they got worse, under a new coach. And Josh McDaniels had in his career was bad at coaching, was bad at head coach. I believe he was the head coach in Denver, actually, 2011, 2012 area around that, and he went in, I think 2 seasons. He really struggled. He got fired. We all thought, though, under Belichick's staff, he learned a lot more, and he'd come back, and, people under Belichick stink. They're not good. The Belichick coaching tree is terrible. Really is bad. I think with the Broncos, it's Russell Wilson's just not the same player he once was. Derek Carr is still good. It's just the coaching stinks. So, this is such a tough game to pick. I'm going to take, I don't even know. This is such a tough game. I'm going to take Denver. I'm going to take them here. I think, they're at home. Their defense is still pretty solid. The Raiders are just so poorly coached. They're just such a bad team. So are the Broncos, but I'm going to take Denver. They're at home, and I think that's kind of what decides it here. At home, Denver Broncos. I'll take them 23-20. Late field goal wins it for Denver. Over on the over-under 41, I think that the Broncos win, and right on the 3 points. 4:25 p.m. Eastern on CBS. Got the Steelers and the Bengals. Bengals 5-4. Steelers 3-6. Bengals 4-point favorites. The over/under set at 40. Steelers welcoming Cincinnati, coming off of an ugly, but it was a nice win against the Saints last weekend. I'm going to take Cincinnati. This is a big game for them. This is a very big game for Cincinnati, as you look at their upcoming schedule, and the next 2 weeks are a little rough. Obviously, after this week, you got at Tennessee, who looked a lot better last night. And they're going to be well rested. And then you're home against Kansas City, and then it's the Browns, which will probably have Watson at that point, but I still don't believe in the Browns even with him. And then you have the Buccaneers on the road, Patriots on the road, and then Bills at home, Ravens at home. So you can make the argument Cincinnati the rest of the way this season has 5, out of their final, 8 games. Coming off of a bye week, out of their final 8 games, all of them are with teams above 500 except 2 games, and that's this week and then against Cleveland. So these are games they got to capitalize on. Even the Bucs, they're on the road there. Now, I probably would go ahead and say they're probably going to win that game, but the Bills, Patriots are that's winnable. But they still got they got a tough schedule, and they're 5-4, so they don't have much room. The Bengals don't, it's not like we're looking at a 7-3 Bengals team and saying, man, they have a rough schedule, but they're 7-3. They have some room, they have a little bit of room for failure. Bengals don't have much wiggle room. They're a 2-game losing streak away from being 5-6. And if they lose this game, they got to go on the road next week and play a Titans team that looked a lot better with Tannehill last night and the week prior. So it's almost like, all right, this is a big game for Cincinnati. They cannot overlook this game against a Pittsburgh team. It's in division, so you always know those are going to be interesting. I'm going to take the Bengals, though. Again, I'm not saying the Bengals are going to lose this game, but you can't overlook it. I do think they'll win because the Steelers just aren't good, but I'll take the Bengals. I'll take them on the road here. The only way Steelers win this game is if Najee Harris can put up a lot. He played better last week. I believe he had, 99 yards, but I'm going to take Cincinnati. More talent. Steelers just aren't the same. Give me the Bengals. But all I'm saying is, just watch out. I wouldn't be shocked if they lose to Pittsburgh because it has the meanings of a trap game when the next 2 weeks you got to play Tennessee and you got to play Kansas City. And you kind of get a little, we all know how it is. We all know, get caught looking ahead a little bit. But they're well rested. They're coming off a bye week. They're 5-4. They're a team that's, been there, done that before. Yes, they're only, they're a young team, but they've already, they know what it takes to have success. So I'm going to take Cincinnati. I don't think they get caught looking ahead, but just watch. But Cincinnati wins 27-20. I'll take the over on the over-under 40. Bengals get the win. They cover the 4 points. Final 4 o'clock game here. We got the Cowboys and the Vikings. Cowboys 6-3. Vikings 8-1. Over-under set at 48. 1.5-point favorite. Slim 1.5-point favorite for the Dallas Cowboys. This game's going to be decided by 2 things. We're going to see one of 2 things happen. Number 1, we either see a angry Dallas Cowboys team coming off of a loss in Green Bay, Mike McCarthy's return, in which I don't know why they went for it instead of kicking the field goal, but that's besides me. That's above my pay grade, right? And number two, we're either going to see that as Cowboys team, an angry Cowboys team, or we're going to see a Cowboys team that's still down about the loss. And then we'll either see a Vikings team that's going to continue this hot streak or not be able to get over not be able to completely move on from the miracle win last week. We're going to see one of those two things. So it's going to be a great game. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, is it going to be Cowboys bouncing back off a big way off of a loss? Or is it going to be the Vikings continuing what has been a great year so far, full of a ton of comebacks, in Buffalo, one of the hardest places to play, against the Bills? They check that off their box. So what are we going to see? I'm going to take the Vikings here. And there's a big reason why. They're at home. That place is going to be roaring. This is back-to-back weeks now with the Cowboys, on the road, tough environments. I'll tell you this. The Cowboys again, last week was such a deflating loss. There was so much hype. They had the bye week. They went into the bye week. They had all that time to prepare. Rodgers, versus McCarthy. McCarthy's return to Lambeau. All of that stuff built up into that one game. And to lose it the way they did, I think they're going to come out. I think the Vikings are going to come out with a lot of energy. And the reason I don't think they're going to get caught kind of, looking back is because they've done this 7 times in a row. They're 8-1. They're on a 7-game win streak. That's why I don't think they'll do it. And they've had a ton of comebacks, and they've come back the next week, and they've dominated. So I'm going to take Minnesota here. I am. This is going to be a very exciting game. This is going to be fun. I think this is probably you could make the argument that this is, Bills, Vikings, the game of the year so far, but this has the makings of being up there with one of the better games we'll see this year. So I'm going to take the Vikings. They're at home, and they're going to continue their hot winning ways. Kirk Cousins, it is a 4 o'clock game, so it's a little closer to prime time, but I think you'll get a good enough performance out of Kirk Cousins. Give me the Vikings at home. I'll take the Vikings over the Cowboys. 31-27. Vikings win. Over on the over-under 48. Vikings plus 1.5. Give me the Vikings at home. All right, final game here. Sunday, 8:20 p.m. Eastern on NBC. Chiefs-Chargers. Chiefs 7-2. Chargers 5-4. Chiefs 5-point favorites. The over-under set at 52. This was the game that got flexed into Sunday night. To be honest, I think it should have been the Patriots-Jets, but it isn't. It is what it is. I don't mind. I love the 1 o'clock games. I always have. 1 o'clock games to me are the best. I don't like 4 o'clock games. I like 1 o'clock games. Primetime games aren't bad. We haven't had a Sunday Night Football game since forever. So it's been a while. So this is going to be an interesting game. Chargers, Chiefs. Chargers coming off a tough loss on Sunday night. Against the Niners last week. This is an interesting game for the Chargers because you look at their upcoming schedule, and this would be a huge win if they can get this. Because if they can find a way and win this game, get to 6-4. They go on the road and play Arizona next week, who is a mess. And then they'll go on the road and play Vegas, who's a mess. If you can win this game and get to 6-4, there's a good chance, boom, blink of an eye, you're 8-4. And the Chiefs, who would then fall to 7-3 after this game, coming up next week, would have to play the Rams, which is they should win. But then they got to go to Cincinnati, which, again, as much as that's a tough game for Cincinnati, I'm not saying that's an easy game for Kansas City. This is a big game because if you lose this game, you're 5-5. The next 2 games for Kansas City are winnable, like I mentioned. Now, if you win this game, it puts more pressure on Kansas City to win those next 2, which would include going to Cincinnati. So that's all I'm saying. But the next 2 games for LA are very winnable. Home against Arizona, they stink at home. And the dysfunctional-led Josh McDaniels Raiders on the road as well. Those are 2 very winnable games. So there's a good chance a win in this game would take you from 1 game above 500, boom, to 4 games above 500, just like that. Because of how much this win would take you from 1 game to 4, because you win this game, get to 6-4, and you don't want to look ahead too much, but then you got 2 very winnable games coming up, and you'd be 8-4, and you put some pressure on Kansas City down the stretch. Now, if you lose this game, you're 5-5, Kansas City gets to 8-2, now you're really kind of falling back. So, what we thought was going to be a phenomenal AFC West, it has now come down to the Chargers and the Chiefs. Now, the Chargers are getting a little bit healthier. Keenan Allen's practicing a little bit this week. Hopefully, he's good to go. I would like to see Keenan Allen play, not only for fantasy, but number two, I think the game's just better. The Chargers clearly miss him. This would only be his third game of the year if he does play. He's missed every game all but two. As much as I want to take the Chargers in this one, because I feel like if Keenan Allen does play, he could provide that bolt of energy. As much as I want to take them, I'm going to take Kansas City because they're the Chiefs. It's Patrick Mahomes, and I haven't seen enough out of the Chargers. I know they've been injured, but I would like to see, a lot more out of the Chargers in order for me to feel truly confident in picking them. I understand they're home. I get all that, but I'm going to still take Kansas City. A lot of injuries for the Chargers. Yes, they're getting healthier. Possibly Keenan Allen's back. But I just still can't take them just yet because they've been not what we expected so far this year. So I'm going to take Kansas City on the road. Give me the Chiefs 31-21. Chiefs will get the win. I'll take them right at the over-under 52. Chiefs get the win. Boom. They cover the 5 points, win by 10. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think 31-21. I think the Chiefs might score late, make it a 31-21 game. I just don't think the Chargers are just there yet. I think, they need to get more guys back, and then they can really start to make a push. But man, oh man, the AFC West has been disappointing, really disappointing. You had Kansas City, who we all expected to do, we all expected all these teams. I think at the beginning of the year, I did have the Broncos missing the playoffs, so there's that. I think I had the Chargers. I could look. I have it in my notes somewhere over here, but I think did I have the Chargers over the Chiefs? I might have. And then it was the Raiders I know I had third. I know I had the Raiders Broncos. I just forget how to mix it. We all thought this was going to be the juggernaut. And instead we have a 7-2 team, a 5-4 team, a 3-6 team, and a 2-7 team. And instead, the AFC East is the juggernaut. 7-3, 2 6-3 teams, and a 5-4 team. That's how crazy this is. So any given year, you just never know. And, the AFC South we all knew was going to be bad. The NFC East, which we looked at it and said, all right, Eagles and Cowboys are going to be good. Giants and Commanders will probably be eh. And here we go. Giants are ahead of the Cowboys in the standings. Eagles are, despite the loss last week, they're a juggernaut. And Washington's 5-5, and they're right in the playoff conversation, a half game out, and they just beat Philly last week. And then you got the Cowboys who, yes, they lost last week, and I don't think they'll win this week, but still, they're 6-3, and they're still right in the conversation. So there's been a lot of fun divisions. And then you got the NFC North, which we all thought, battle between Green Bay and Minnesota, and that division's been a flop. 8-1 Minnesota, everybody else below 500. 4-7 Packers, 3-6 Lions, 3-7 Bears. And as a matter of fact, and I could talk about this stuff for days, so I got to move on from it here. I love talking about standings, breaking it all down. It's a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, if the Lions beat the Giants this week, I believe they will be, because the Lions are 3-6. The Lions would be above the Packers in the standings. How about that? I believe that's the case because the Packers are 4-7. Lions would have one less loss, so they'd be 4-6. If the they'd also have if the Lions, I believe so. Although the only issue is the Lions they beat because they beat Green Bay. That was a 3-interception Rodgers game 2 weeks ago. So if the Lions win this week, they're third place. No, they're second place in the AFC North, which means nothing because they're not going anywhere. Second place teams below 500. But how about that? And if the Bears win this week, they'll be same record as the Packers, which I have the Bears winning. And that goes into my next game here. We'll go to the Giants-Lions, and then we'll go to the Jets-Patriots, save the best for last. We got Giants-Lions this week. Giants 7-2, Lions 3-6. Giants 3-point favorite. Over-under set at 45, 1 Eastern on Fox. So I have the Bears winning. I have the Vikings winning. I had the Packers winning. Do I got the Lions winning? Do I have every NFC North team winning this week? I was wrong about the Packers. I was hopefully, we'll see what the Bears do in Atlanta. And then we'll see what obviously the Vikings do at home against Dallas. I'm not going to pick the Lions here. This is an interesting game because, a couple games here as well as we get later in the year and we get some of these big in-division matchups coming up. It's a big game for the Giants, and you're going to learn a lot about this team. And I said this last week. You're going to learn a lot about the Giants over the next 2 weeks about where they're at mentally, coaching, because those two things are big. Number one, coaching's big in these couple of games because these are two very bad teams. You're playing a Lions team that's 3-6. They're competitive. You do have to watch out. Lions are a lot better than the Texans. They're competitive. The Lions are competitive, right? But you're still playing a team with one of the worst passing defenses all football, and a team that you should beat. Like, you should beat the Detroit Lions. The Lions are competitive. I'm not denying that, but competitive's different from winning football. I get it. They're on a 2-game win streak, all that stuff, but the Giants should win this game. You're at home. It's the Lions. They're competitive, but they're not like it's not like you're playing the Cowboys. There's not like you're welcoming the 8-1 Eagles to town. So I'm going to take the Giants here, and I'll tell you this. I don't know what the over-under is on Daniel Jones' passing yards. I don't, but I'd take the over. I think this is going to be, and I'm not saying they're going to avoid the run because that's the type of offense they have, but I think this is going to be the game where Daniel Jones plays really, really well. The Lions' passing off defense stinks. Their defense as a whole is not good. Yes, they've won. Yes, they played well against Green Bay, but a lot of those interceptions came in the red zone. You're not always just going to be able to survive getting interceptions in the red zone. And they let up 30 points last week. Thankfully, I believe it was a missed PAT. Thankfully, they won. But they still let up 31 points. Not always going to win a game, or they still let up 30 points, rather. Not always going to win letting up 30 points. Now, Giants defense, this is big, and it'll be interesting to see if Xavier McKinney in this game is a big loss, because the Lions have been one of the best offenses in football this year. Statistically, they have been. There was a stat like 4 weeks ago where the Lions had the last scoring defense in football, and they did the number one scoring offense. They were allowing like 35 points a game, but they were scoring like 33 a game. That's how their season's been. Again, the Lions could easily be 6-3. I mean, they could be. That we all talked about this last year. They're very close in games. They just don't do a good job closing, and a lot of that is because of the defense. So I'm going to take the Giants here, and I think Daniel Jones has a big day. I think they beat up on this Lions secondary, and it'll be interesting to see how this Giants defense does against an interesting but good Lions offense. They went through that 2 to 3 week stretch where they struggled, and last week they came out and they did well. So it's going to be interesting. This has a trap game written all over it because you got Dallas coming up, and you could be in a position to play a reeling Dallas Cowboys team if they lose back-to-back against Green Bay, and if they go into Minnesota this weekend and lose. And you have a chance on Thursday, on Thanksgiving, in Dallas, a Thanksgiving tradition for the Dallas Cowboys. You have an opportunity to make them lose their third straight. So all of that being said, you got to stay focused on this game. You can't get caught looking ahead. I'm going to take the Giants. I think this is a entertaining game. I do. I think this is a higher scoring game. Giants games this year have been lower scoring. I think this is actually relatively higher scoring. I'm going to take the Giants at home. 27-23, Giants win. It's close because the Lions always stay competitive, but the Giants get the win at home and go into next week against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving at an 8-2 record, looking for their 9th win in Dallas. Give me the Giants 27-23. I'll take the over on the over-under of 45, and then the Giants cover the 3 points. They get the win at home. By the way, 57% of people think the Giants will win. So a little closer. It's not like 80-20. You look at the records, you would think that, but the Giants are an interesting game. Interesting team, rather. All right, so now we go to the best game of the weekend. Jets, Patriots. Patriots 5-4. Jets 6-3 going into Foxborough. Patriots a small 3.5-point favorite. The over-under set at 38, 1 Eastern on CBS. Most people got this game being a low-scoring affair. Kevin Harlan on the call on CBS. I'm looking forward to this game. This week has actually gone by pretty slow, and I truly mean that. This week has gone by slow. I'm so happy it's Friday. This is a massive game. I mean, this is the biggest Jet game they have played in years. If the Jets win this game, you would get to 7-3 on the year, and you would be first place in a division, and you would have full control of first place in a division. It would be yours to lose because you would have the tiebreaker over Miami. You already beat Buffalo. You would split against New England, and you would forget about New England because they'd be 5-5, so they'd be a whole 2 games behind you. Now, how crazy the division is if the Bills win this week and the Jets lose, Jets would be last at 6-4. So that's how massive this game is. And I talked about this on Wednesday when I kind of did my Jets-Patriots week kind of video of, is this a must-win? This is a must-win for the division. It is a must-win for the division. If you want to win a division, you got to win this game. If you don't win this game, you're probably not winning the division. That's just my opinion. Now, if you win this game, the division's yours to lose because you have tiebreakers over everyone, and New England would be out of the picture because they'd be 5-5. And then you'd still have to play Buffalo and Miami, and if you win those games, you're full control. Division's yours to lose. That's how big this game is. So go into Foxborough, get the win. I'm so sick and tired of this whole everybody talking about, we haven't beat them since 2015. Fitzpatrick to Decker, overtime, MetLife, week 15 or week 16. Next week, you followed up with the dud in Buffalo against Rex Ryan and the Bills. I'm so sick of that. Everybody's telling that story all over again. Please, for the love of all good things, football gods, be on our side. Go into Foxborough and get the win and beat the New England Patriots for the first time in 13 tries. Or first time since 2015, and it's been 13 tries since that. Please do it. Jets are more talented. They are. The Jets are the more talented football team. They have a top 10 defense. You can make the argument it's top 5. I believe it's ranked like 6th, I think, total. But you could certainly make the argument it's top 5. You could also make the argument it's top 3. That's how good this defense has been. It's been one of the best defenses we've ever seen. You can make the argument it's one of the better defenses we've seen in the past 20 years. I know Rex Ryan defenses were very good. This defense is better in my opinion. And one thing about this defense too is it's very good late. Rex Ryan's defense weren't very good late in games. They would struggle. This Jet defense, very good all game, especially in the fourth quarter. The big key for this game, and I'll go more into it, in my preview and all that stuff, coming up here, today and tomorrow. But my big key for this game is the Jets got to do what they did against Buffalo. And my one big key is this. I trust this defense. The only thing I have to say about this defense, which we struggled with against New England last time, is that the Jets, we didn't do a good job of getting off the field on third down against Mac Jones in New England. That's the one thing. I think they were like 6 of 9 at one point getting off the field on third down. It would be like third down and 10, third down and 15, and they would convert. We do everything right, get to third down and 15, and they would find a way to convert. So you have to do a little bit better job there of getting off the field on third down. The offensive line still kind of all over the place. We signed LDT, which I was very happy about. He was a nice solid piece for us last year, a guy that you can rely on, a guy that, you can believe in, doing his doctor stuff. I mean, he's just so much, he's really just all around just talented guy in many different fields, both the sports field and both the medical industry, which is pretty crazy. You don't see it too often with athletes doing what he's doing, but he's back. What you're going to see out of Herbig, it's going to be interesting. But my one big thing, you can look at many different keys in this game. My one big thing, if Zach Wilson plays like he did in Buffalo, or against Buffalo, I should say, at MetLife, Jets win this game, period. If he plays like he did in Buffalo, Jets win this game. Now, if he plays like he did in Buffalo and the Jets lose this game, I'll admit I'm wrong. But I can almost guarantee it. If Zach Wilson plays like he did against the Bills, they're going to win this game. Because, again, we lost to New England. Why? Not because of our defense, because of our offense. And Bill Belichick and the Patriots offense stinks. And our defense is really good. We have that advantage over them. Their defense is good. Our offense can be good. It all comes down to the quarterback. Quick throws. Get Elijah Moore involved. Get him across the middle. Quick, 5-6 yard slant routes. Get the tight ends involved. We have so many mismatches at the tight end position that we don't utilize a lot. Utilize them. Utilize Conklin. Utilize Uzomah. Right? Utilize both Robinson and Michael Carter coming out of the backfield in the passing game. Do what you did 2 weeks ago against Buffalo, where you shocked the NFL world, and do it again, and this time do it on the road and win for the first time since, what was it, 2010? Since Rex Ryan days in Foxborough. If you're including the last time we won in the regular season, that's like a million years ago. If you're including postseason, last time we won in New England, Bart Scott's Can't Wait. That was the last time. So I can't wait for this game. This is just such a massive, massive game, and it starts with it does start with the quarterback. And as much as you might want to take some of the pressure off the QB, Zach Wilson's got to play well. That's the bottom line. If he plays well and he plays, and he takes what the defense is giving him and plays within the offense and takes the short, quick throws, the quick three-step drops, all that stuff, and he doesn't roll out to his left and right and throwing it sidearm across the middle and, four different, throwing into a, triple coverage and quadruple coverage and trying to throw the ball out of bounds and not doing it. If he just plays within the offense and doesn't try to play hero ball and doesn't try to throw the ball 40 yards downfield every play, we're going to win this game, right? And again, utilize everything. Utilize your legs too. He did a great job last week and throw the ball away. If you're under pressure, throw the ball away. Don't try to force it. Unless if you know that there's a guy open, don't force it. You're on the road too. You turn the ball over on the road, it is extremely hard to come back from because the crowd gets into it. Now you're behind. Pressure's on you. It's hard to come back in football games when you turn the ball over, let alone when you're on the road and let alone when you're in an environment like Foxborough, right? And against a team like New England that Bill Belichick loves to feast off of turnovers. Got to play turnover-clean football. And one thing that he did, and I was at the game in Buffalo, or up against Buffalo. Jeez, they weren't in Buffalo. I was at the game against the Bills at MetLife, obviously, 2 weeks ago. This Sunday will be 2 weeks. There were so many times where Zach Wilson saw green grass in front of him and ran. He didn't do that against New England the first time. He did it, against Buffalo. Take what the defense is giving you. If you got 10 yards of green grass in front of you, take it. Go for it. Right? So I do feel confident about this game. Again, it comes down to Zach Wilson and if he can play turnover-clean football and if he could just play within the offense. And I think he will. I believe in him. I believe in this team. And I'm going to take the Jets. For the first time in forever, Jets get a win in Foxborough. I'm going to take the Jets 23-17. Jets get the win. I'll take the over on the over-under 38. Give me the Jets plus 3.5. And for the first time in 13 tries, the Jets will get a win. And for the first time since Bart Scott's Can't Wait game, the Jets will get a win in Foxborough against the Patriots. So, man, oh man, a massive game. Let's go, Jets. And I feel confident. I do. That Bills game made me a lot more confident. If the Jets would have struggled in that Bills game and we came into this 5-4 on a 2-game losing streak, I would have felt less confident. But the fact that we went up against one of the league's best, you can make the argument they are the best in the Bills. And watching that Vikings game last week, that shows you how good this Jets defense is. The fact that the Bills are able to put up all those points. So, I'm going to take the Jets. Give me the Jets. I feel confident. I do. I truly do. I say, I said this the other night, I'm probably about a 7. 8's probably a little too greedy for me. I'm probably about a 6.57 in terms of my overall feeling for this game. Now, let me tell you this. The Bills game, I was about a 4. I was about a 5. I was probably about a 4 for that Bills game. This game, I'm about a 7, 6.5, 7, 7.5. 8 is a little too confident, I think. Because they are the Patriots, it's Belichick, and he's found a way to beat us 13 straight times. So even you look at the roster, not good, he's found a way. But it comes down to the quarterback. That's my opinion. So anyway, all right, let's get to fantasy football and wrap things up here on this Football Friday. Big week in fantasy football, just like it is in the NFL. One of my leagues, I'm 5-5. The other one, I'm 4-6. Two of them, I'm 3-7. So it's been an interesting year in fantasy football. One of my leagues trying to get above 500. The other league trying to keep the playoff hopes alive. And the other two leagues just trying not to finish in last place and get those wacky, unfortunate fantasy punishments out of the way, which I really don't want to do any of them, but I do have some punishments in a couple of my leagues. So I'm just trying 2 of my leagues. I'm just trying to win, get out of first place, because playoffs are out of the equation at this point. But the other 2 leagues still fighting for playoff spots as I'm 5-5 and 4-6. An interesting week as it looks like we'll get Keenan Allen back He was limited at practice on Thursday. He was limited Wednesday, limited yesterday. We'll hear the report probably pretty soon on what his practice status was today. I don't know if he'll play. If he does, he might be limited. I will tell you this. If you have the opportunity to put him in your lineup, I would. Just because I think, again, you can limit it all you want. If he's ready to go, the Chargers almost have to put him in there, because if you lose this game, you fall to 5-5. And as much as their next two games are easy, you don't want to fall to 5-5, especially with the Bengals going up against the Steelers and most likely winning that game, and then the Chiefs would gain another game on you. You just don't want that, So I would see them utilizing, Keenan Allen a lot. So he would definitely be an option in the lineup. Tony Pollard as well. Flex if you want to take, Allen over Pollard. I have no issue with it. Devontae Adams was also limited at practice on Thursday. Or Devontae Smith, rather. He was also. So it's interesting to see how that goes. Now, Smith or Keenan Allen, who would you choose? I would probably go Keenan Allen. Obviously if Devontae Smith is out, you obviously have to put Allen in. Or you could put a guy like a Boyd in or a Rondale Moore in. I like Rondale Moore a lot this week. I really do. I think he's been a very good player. Now, he's been very good recently. Kyler Murray's been passing him the ball a whole lot. And again, they're going up against San Francisco. They are at home, which the Cardinals seem to forget how to play complimentary football at home. Not that they do much of anything else on the road either. I mean, I know they did win under Colt McCoy, but still, it'll be interesting to see that. But Rondale Moore's been very good recently. So your receivers are interesting this week because you're getting some guys back. There are some guys that are questionable. Obviously with Devontae Adams being questionable, he was limited Thursday. And then, DeAndre Hopkins also being questionable. He is practicing Friday. Now, here's the deal. He was sitting out Thursday. He's practicing today. If DeAndre Hopkins is out, Rondale Moore's been a big play already. If Hopkins is out, Rondale Moore's a must play. And I could make the argument that if DeAndre Hopkins is out, and let's just say you got Keenan Allen on your bench, maybe you got Pollard or Carter or Boyd at your flex, I would put Rondale Moore in over Allen, because Rondale Moore has been getting a lot of targets, and he's been very, very under the radar this year. He really has. He's been a very good player this year, and he's been very under the radar this season. So he's a guy to definitely look out for. And to give you his points, the last 3 straight games, 23, 14, 18. A lot of catches, a lot of targets. In his 6 game, or what has it been? In his 7 games this season, he has had 3 games with above 10 targets, and he's had 4 games with over 7 catches. Or 7 catches or more. And 5 of his 7 games this year, he's had over 10 points, at least 10 points. So he's been very good this season. He's a high catch guy, gets targeted a ton, and if Hopkins is out, he's going to get targeted even more. So just keep your eye out for that. Rondale Moore's been a very, very good player and a very good play in fantasy football, a guy to definitely look out for. I was thinking about starting the running, with McCole Hardman too, him being on IR. I know a lot of people had him on their roster, starting to kind of go up there. Again, he was more of a flex guy. You could replace him with a Pollard or a Michael Carter, or even a guy like a Tyler Boyd. I know Gibson, there's some hopes about him coming in this week. I'm personally not playing Cordero Patterson this week. He struggled a little bit last week. With Darren Waller being on the IR, tight end spot's also a little bit of question there too. Hayden Hurst, you could go Broncos tight end. Dolich, I think his name is. I had him last week. I dropped him this week. Struggled last week. But a play that I would definitely think about making, definitely think about making this week is, and I thought about making this if it was in the snow, Devin Singletary playing. And that was a play I thought about making if they had the snow game, because they were going to run the ball a lot. Now, without them playing in Buffalo, and all jokes aside, if they were playing in the snow, passing game was not going to be that impactful. So you were going to run the ball a lot. And that would up the stock, obviously, on Chubb, who's a start every week, and a Singletary, who's a flex-to-bench guy, their stock drops a little bit. So do you go with David Montgomery in Atlanta over Singletary? I don't know if I would do that. I still might put Singletary in. The Bills have to try to do something to limit Josh Allen turning the ball over so much. They have to figure out a way. And ever since, and this has been the one thing, ever since Justin Fields has started to play better and run a lot more, and they've used his legs and his athleticism, David Montgomery's numbers have taken a tumble. He's at under 10 points 4 of the last 5 weeks. So he's been really disappointing recently. He's not getting the carries. Last week, he only had 9 carries. Earlier in the year, he was getting upwards to 15 to 17. Last week, they dropped down to 9. Now, to be fair, the week prior, he had 14, but he's a guy to look out for. So whether you want to put Singletary in over him, I don't know. I'm personally still playing Singletary. Singletary, it seems like he's been getting a little bit more run. He went from 17, bye week 14, 8, 13. So, really for the past, 3 of the past 4 games, he's had some season highs in carry. Season high 17, season high 14, 13, 17 are all up top 3 in total carries a game for Singletary. So his workload's been increased a little bit while Dave Montgomery's workload is dropping a little bit. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like you got to see. Singletary would have been a must play in the snow because they were going to run the ball a ton. But now it's not as big of a play. But do you take Singletary, more boom bust, who's been better, a little bit better recently, getting a little bit more opportunities, coming off a week last week where he had 15 points, 2 touchdowns? Or do you take David Montgomery and hope he can get going against a really bad Falcons defense? I'm going Singletary, but it's definitely an interesting situation. So we'll see. All right, so that's what I got. Fantasy football. I'm playing Daniel Jones in one of my leagues. My 4 quarterbacks this week are Dak, Daniel Jones, and Kirk Cousins. So 2 leagues Dak, 1 league Daniel Jones. I like Daniel Jones a lot this week. Again, I feel like he's going to have a big game. This could be one of his bigger games of his career, just because the Lions' defense stinks. I'm not saying he's going to have it, but it has potential to have a big game. I do think he'll have a big game. I'm not saying he's going to go out for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, but it does have potential to be a pretty nice Sunday afternoon for Daniel Jones if he can get, his minimal, but some of his receivers the ball and really, really take advantage of that weak secondary and that weak defense that Detroit Lions got. All right, so now we get to some of the other sports on. Tonight you got Kings, Canucks in the NHL. As for the NBA, got a lot of games on tonight. Wizards, Heat, 76ers, Bucks, Hornets, Cavs, Magic, Bulls, Pacers, Rockets, Thunders, Grizzlies, Celtics, Pelicans, Nuggets, Mavericks, Jazz, Suns, Lakers, Pistons, and the Knicks, Warriors tonight as well. So a little Knicks. Nets day off. They'll be back on Sunday against the Grizzlies as they wrapped up their West Coast trip last night with a 109-107 thrilling win over the Timberwolves. So that should be good. And as for college, got a couple good games this weekend. In college basketball tonight, you got UCLA, Illinois, which is a good one. Baylor, Virginia, Duke. This is basketball. Sunday will be Kentucky, Gonzaga, which is a good game. So these are the basketball games this weekend. And then as for the football games, a couple good ones as well this weekend. An interesting one is Baylor TCU. That's going to be a fun one. So these are the football games. Sorry if I mix up the basketball and football. These are the football games this weekend. Baylor TCU is a good one. That's on Fox, 12 Eastern tomorrow. Baylor, a small 2-point underdog. TCU, a couple tough games coming up here. Possible preview of the Big Ten Championship. Michigan, Illinois. Most likely Michigan will win that. Kentucky, Georgia. Kentucky coming off an embarrassing loss against Vanderbilt. Will they bounce back? Probably not. I'm gonna probably take Georgia there. A couple good games on this weekend, and in the big one, USC UCLA is a big game. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, battle of the Oklahomas. But UCLA USC is by far the biggest game of the weekend, as it's a Chip Kelly versus Lincoln Riley, and then you got Utah, Oregon as well. So a lot of good games coming up this weekend in the world of college football. All of them good to look forward to, and should be a good game. A lot of college coming up. College basketball, college football, Kentucky, Gonzaga Sunday night, Jets, Patriots as well on Sunday. Big weekend. And so looking forward to it. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. As always, you know the drill. I'll be back at it on Monday, recapping it all. Should be an exciting next couple days. Go Jets, JTS, Jets. Let's get the win in Foxborough for the first time in forever. Zach just needs to step up and play well. Trust the defense. Trust everybody else on this roster. Zach, he needs to step up and do his job, which I believe he can, as long as he plays within the offense and takes what the defense is giving him and does what he needs to do. and the Jets should be able to get the win. So, as always, hope you enjoyed it. I will see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.